All right, First Smoke family, we got episode 100 today, and we got no other than my man, Be Real, the man, Dr. Greenthumb.
Hello, my name is Dr. Greenthumb.
On here for you today, man. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for rocking with us for 100 episodes. Make sure you hit the like on this one. Run the comments up. Let us know what your favorite part is. Let us know what your favorite Cypress Hill song is. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. We appreciate the whole family. And if you haven't already, I'm gonna tell you to hop on the website, man, fsotd.com. We have 3 tiers for you to access. If you've already on the website, then you already could have watched this episode weeks ago. You already would have been up on it. You would have been up on all the other things we have as well. We got merch on the site, hoodies, shirts, rolling trays, lighters, everything you can need. And we got new stuff dropping every month. So check back in if you haven't checked in a while. Make sure you go to the site. Also, go to drdabber.com. Shout out to our friends over at Dr. Dabber. They hold us down with all our excesses, all the Evos, all the stuff you see us rocking on the table. And when we're out traveling around, it's Dr. Dabber holding us down. drdabber.com. Use the code FIRSTSMOKE. And my man Blackleaf's gonna tell you the rest.
I'm already using that code. But what I also am doing is growgeneration.com. Grow Generation stores nationwide or online at growgeneration.com. If you want to get hooked up, use our code FIRSTSMOKE10. FIRSTSMOKE10 gets you priority hooked up. Also, if you're a grower out there and you haven't been happy with the way your quality's been coming out, the taste, the smell of your product, let's try Drip Hydro. Hit us up. Send us an email, family@firstsmokeoftheday.com. Let us know I need to run Drip Hydro. Also, get on that site. We have all our discount codes for all the people we work with. It gets you hooked up, fsotd.com.
Episode 100, we got my man Be Real. Shout out to the whole family, man. We appreciate you guys watching. And now, let's get insane in the motherfucking membrane.
Hello, my name is Dr. Greenthumb.
Are you trying to get crazy with this, eh? Don't you know I'm loco?
How do recording artists stand the test of time? Through plenty of hardship and against all odds, these artists never stop believing in their destiny. With fierce independence, they break boundaries. With a sound all their own, they define their time.
Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back, man. It's First Smoke of the Day. Big, huge episode today. 100th episode. It's your boy Pac in the building. I'm here with my co-host Blackleaf, as always.
Feeling special, man.
And we got the godfather of it all in here for the 100th episode. My man, Be Real. What's good, bro?
Thank you, guys, and congratulations on the 100th episode.
Thank you for real.
Thanks for having me.
It's a blessing to be able to have you on for it. We feel accomplished now.
Thank you.
For real. We really do, though.
Yeah.
For real. It's when we were thinking about like what kind of impact could we have for 100, it's like all we could think about was like, yo, we got to get Be Real on there.
I feel honored, man. Thank you.
Since, dude, you just go so far back and you just been so active, because a lot of people got a lot going on. They do a lot, but they go enjoy life, but you just grind.
Yeah, you know, I tend to keep the foot on the pedal. There was a few years where I sort of let go, and I was playing a lot of paintball, right? Competing in paintball tournaments.
We read about that.
Not necessarily in the woods, but like competitive paintball, where it's like
airball fields,
on a field,
right?
airball fields,
Stoned Assassins.
Yeah, Stoned Assassins. And for that 3-year break I took away from, like, let's just say recording and you know, touring and stuff like that. I mean, we did sporadic shows. I kept busy in certain ways, but not as busy as I normally would. And I felt like at that time I needed that break because all I ever did was like grind. I didn't take any time off. And so, like, I took that little bit of time there to have fun and do something I always wanted to do. Because when as a kid, I looked at the paintball flyers and be like, oh, I wish I could do that. And on Muggs's, I think 32nd or 33rd birthday, the girl he was dating at the time bought him tickets to the paintball spot in Corona. So we all went and played, got addicted, and played for 3 years straight in these different league. Well, in the MPPL league, and so that was the time I took off after I got back. Right, and what snapped me back in is we were at our last tournament that I'd played in. Still to this day, that's probably the last tournament I played in. Was in San Diego. I just come off a tour in Europe, got to the tournament day of that we got. That's how I was doing it. Like I'd come off the plane onto the field, and vice versa. I'd off the field onto the plane, off to do the show and stuff like that. I was like rocking it like that. And in San Diego, we had a horrible tournament. We were set up to win that one, and we just totally, like, everybody was on a different page. Egos, attitude, pride, all that stuff, paintball player shit.
I feel like it was big during these times.
It
too.
was. It was at the
huge.
peak. It was 7-man tournament and a 5-man, and then the 3-man. But the 7-man was like the big one. And so we were playing that last of the series, because there was 5 or 6 that they'd played throughout the country, and one of them would be in San Diego, and we have our shitty tournament. Our guys are arguing. We got cheated out of a call, and one of our guys cheated on top of that. So like it ended bad, right? And so we were like, I had just broken up an argument between 2 of the guys, and this fan comes up. Hey, yo, B, can I get a picture before you guys roll out? I'm like, yeah, sure. I take the picture, and he goes, hey man, I love the fact that you're here playing paintball with all the guys, and you're like just being one, regular person out here with us, and being a part of the culture. I love that, man, about you. You know what I mean? That's awesome. I'm like, thanks, man. He goes, but can I ask you something? I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, when are you gonna make another record? I was like, oh shit. Because it had been 3 years.
Mhm.
We were just doing little shows here and there sporadically, not like full-blown tours like we were used to doing. I wasn't in the studio at all. I was on the paintball field a lot of the time, or practicing with the team for a tournament, or training before the practice. It was just all like in on this paintball shit for 3 years. And that guy woke me the fuck up. So like right after that, I got into making these 3 mixtapes called the Gunslinger series. And then I went on to record our Cypress Hill album, Rise Up. And from that time to now, I haven't really stopped. No vacations, none of that shit. I mean, I allow myself like the weekend breaks and whatnot. And with touring with Cypress Hill, and when I was with Prophets of Rage, and even sometimes on my solo shit, like I have fun there. Whereas like, I don't feel like I need a vacation, because yes, I'm working, but we allow certain things to come into that scenario. So we have fun doing it, and it's not just work. So since that time, I've been steady on the grind, but having fun doing it.
With the paintball, did you play backfield or were
I played backfield.
Yeah. The quicker guys run and jump for the snake and
right,
all that type of stuff.
Right.
I was into it heavy. That's dope. You were doing all that.
I played the back right corner, sometimes left. And I shot left more than right because I'm ambidextrous, and I could shoot probably a little bit faster on the left hand
Wow. What type of gear were you rocking?
We were running Shockers for a long time. And then I think we started with Angels, went to Shockers, then the Evos or whatever they were called, something like that. They were like the new lighter, faster gun at that point.
Yeah.
And so that was probably one of the last joints I played with. I still got my Shocker, or my Stoned Assassin.
That's classic.
Shocker. Still got all my playing gear. I just ain't touched it, because I know once I get out there, I'm not going to come off again, because it's too addicting for me. I like the adrenaline rush that comes with it, painful as it is. When you get hit, certain places hurt like a motherfucker. Other places, certain places you could take, but there are certain zones on a man's body that ain't like it. It don't feel
like
good.
Like the inner thigh and stuff like that. Like
inner thigh or up in here.
Yep.
Or in your crown, because some people will do that to you. You know what I mean? When they come around
Splat
for a
you
bunker move, hit you with that dome shot.
Especially you, they were probably gunning for your ass, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was targeted every time, and I made it easy for them. I wore a certain headdress that nobody else in the league was rocking yet, which was what I took. Like inspired my Prophets of Rage look, right? And so. They'd be looking for I didn't put breal on my jersey neither. I put my last name on there proper with a 32 on it for Magic Johnson.
That's tight.
And they were looking for me every time, and they would give me extra work on the way to the box. Like if I had gotten shot and I'm walking off, and they're not supposed to do this, but they would give me extra on the way out. and they did that to me.
Those last few are like,
and those are brutal. Those are the ones that hurt because you're walking out because you got taken out and you're like, damn. And then, it's like what they say, insult to injury, you know what I mean? And so I started giving it back to them. Like when we started winning games, when we started winning games, like when we figured out like how to win, because it takes that, you go through your L's, you figure out how to win. So you lose less. We started giving it right back to all those bastards that were targeting me, man. I would give it to them. And the whole team was under instruction. Hey, number whatever, you see him walking out, boom, extra.
Damn. Tag his ass.
Yeah, the way they were targeting me, we targeted him right back. Whoever their best player was, we were getting him. And if we got him, he was getting extra.
He's getting an extra few tags on the way out.
I developed a good strategy. I made friends with all of them because they were all great fucking dudes. Like the chicks that played too. There's a real camaraderie there, competitive as it is. People got love for each other there. So I started coming down there I would make this sangria, right? And I'd have a big ass jug of it in our trailer, and we'd be drinking it little bit before the show, before the tournament, and other players would be like, hey man, let me get some of that shit. I heard about that shit you made. Here. And then, you get
them all twisted.
They got them twisted, boy. And then they're
breathing heavy, jogging. You're like,
And then they're trying to smoke the weed we're smoking. At that time, no one in the league had the weed we had. Not at all. Everybody knew this. So like if you smoked with us and then tried to play, it didn't matter if you were playing us, whoever you were playing against. It could have been us, anybody else. So you were going to play a little sloppy because you weren't used to that. And sometimes it worked to our advantage, man. We get these guys stoned, and if we had to play them, they'd be like out of it. And we rolled them.
Catch them slumped.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Well, then they'd be like, you did that on purpose. No, and you came to our trailer. What are you talking about?
You came to hit the blunt or the joint.
What were you guys smoking at this time?
It was a lot of OG. We were snobs then. We didn't really smoke. There wasn't a lot of exotics out there yet at that point.
Yeah.
There was only a few different ones, but so we always were locked in with OG. My man Rojo from Red Line Reserve played on the team with me. We go way back, Rojo.
No, it's crazy. He looks like he'd be a paintballer.
Yeah, he was. Hey, this motherfucker had wheels too. Like, a lot of those young kids are fast, right? But he was slightly faster. We'd like people who didn't believe this stoner could outrun any of the guys that had been playing for a long time, right? So certain tournaments, they'd hold races and bets. Can these young dudes beat the old guy? And he'd dust them. He'd like run with them for half the length of what they were running, and then burst on them in the middle of the allotted space or whatever, right? He'd like run with him for a minute and then like say something stupid to him, and then boom, burst on him. And we didn't realize that he had the wheels that he had, because we're just playing. We're not recognizing this before we really started getting into drilling, like all teams drill. when we would have to race each other, bro, he was dusting all of us. But we were like, well, yeah, of course he could dust us. We're not the worst. We're not the fastest guys out here, right?
Yeah.
But one day someone challenged him and he dusted him. In every other tournament, they were trying to challenge him because he's an older guy than most of those guys, bursting right past him. He could play paintball too. He was pretty good.
Yo, family, if you want to know where to get all the dope exclusive merch you see us rocking on the show, go to shop.fsotd.com. It's free shipping on all domestic orders. We're trying to hook up the whole family. We want you guys to rock the merch and show us you're a part of the family. All the ashtrays are on there. The lighters are on there. The trays are on there. The Stonewash hoodie is on there. The Family Ties tee is sold out. You should have moved quicker. And also...
Yo, tag us in photos. Let us know you're rocking the merch, you're rolling up on the tray, you're watching firstsmokeoftheday.com. Let us know how you first smoke of the day. Hit us up on Instagram, first smoke of the day. Let us know.
I bet he'd still get out there.
He
Go
could.
Crazy.
Yeah. He stays in shape.
Yeah.
Most of us still do. I could get out there right now and I'd probably be better than I was when I got out there because I'm in a different kind of shape than I was then. That's for sure.
What types of things do you do right now?
A lot of cardio, a lot of core shit. I still do weights, but not as heavy because I don't need to be big. It's hard to carry that consistently on a night-to-night basis on stage for an hour and a half when you got 3-4 shows in a row, one off, and then back to another 3-4 shows or something like that. You know, that's tough.
Yeah.
So I try not to get too big. Just try to stay lean and you know, have the endurance for it instead of like bulking out. You know what I mean? So it's more for endurance and core strength and whatnot that I do it for now, and to keep healthy, man, keep fit. People got to do that. But I was working out then. We were all working out then. We had everybody on a fucking workout regimen. Everybody had to go train, and we did workout days together. And then the drilling days and then the scrimmage days. Like we were fucking all in. We were taking it very serious because we wanted to go from rookie to pro, but we were going to march up that ladder proper. You know, that's what our mentality was. But, you know, it took discipline. Not everybody was disciplined. You can't discipline everybody. It's hard, but most of the guys, yeah, they stood active. And that was one of the things for me. I was always active, training in something. So, you know, if it wasn't martial arts, it was, you know, kickboxing or something like that, or boxing or whatever. And, you know, the weight training and all that shit. But yeah, right now I cleaned up my diet, do the cardio, and then all the other stuff that I was doing before. I mix it up. You know, I think it's better if you mix it up than you do the traditional stuff, doing what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being, you know, having to carry that for an hour and a half. Yeah, it's better not to be that big.
I feel like paintball is like the closest thing to like real life Call of Duty that you can get.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like where it's you, like you're going out there. Obviously, you're not gonna really, you know what I mean? But you get to play again, right? So it's the whole kind of. I don't know why it died out, but man, it was huge. Like it was popping.
It was great. There was a lot of excitement, but they tried to change it too much. And when they tried to bring it to TV, they didn't know how to present it properly. And people didn't get the gist of the game. Oh, well, they just got to shoot each other out. But how is it? You know, it's more than that. These guys got to strategize how to go get that flag on this end. And these guys got to either defend that or figure out moves around that to get to this flag over here. And they don't understand that this guy in the center or maybe the guy in the corner are directing traffic on the guys to get to the moves to be able to kill the other side off, right? They didn't get how to explain that. Instead of putting cameras on these guys like helmets or guns or whatever, and letting them communicate with each other. Cause that was the other thing. When you got a field of guys just screaming shit across the field, and you have people on TV watching this, they don't understand what's being said back and forth. It's gibberish. It's guys yelling. But they, you know, if they could understand what they're yelling to each other, that they're telling, hey, make a move over here, go past this and shoot right. dude is over here, like, you know, all that communication, you know, but they don't allow that in paintball. They don't allow you to have like a radio signal to each other to communicate like that, right?
Oh, okay.
It's all like you got to shout it to the motherfucker across the field.
Yeah.
Yo, stop shooting here, shoot over here. You're fucking losing your voice trying to scream on this motherfucker, getting his attention because he's got so much adrenaline. He's fucking laying paint. He'll hear nothing you're saying.
Yeah. Like the balloon just getting tagged.
Oh, man. You took me.
It's
My first
inflatable.
time I ever went.
Hell
You
yeah.
took me.
You know about it.
I remember getting shot in the neck. I'll never forget it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so unless your homie's loud or close enough for you to hear him to take that direction, and then people got to hear you screaming, like if they're hearing like at least 5 or 6 guys on both sides screaming at their top of the lungs at each other to shoot this way or that way or move this way. It's complicated. And unless you show that right, people will get it disinterested because, you know, you, especially when you got the far out shot and you're not showing the angles of what the shots are. You're just showing this general layout of these guys shooting guns at each other. You're not actually showing the moves that happen because that's important. It's like chess with guns, but you got to show the moves. And, you know, ESPN tried to do it, but they didn't do it right. I think if done right, yeah, it could be something. Because when you look at what ESPN 4 and 5 and 6, it's as many ESPNs there are, or Fox Sports 1, 2, 3 through 10 or whatever, they have all these different sports now that are kind of ridiculous.
Like cornhole.
Yeah. So why not paintball? It's a much more exciting game. It's if you present it right and get the right teams, or, you know, it could be something. Because, I mean, it was exciting to watch. If you're there, it's exciting to watch because you get it. Watching it on TV is a little bit hard because they don't got the right angles to show you what the fuck is going on and how it works. So I think that's why it didn't catch on.
I can see that.
It was like a little,
and it's expensive.
It is. I feel like it might have been a little ahead of its time.
Very much so, yeah.
And like you said, it's expensive and it's intimidating. So a lot of people have never played. It's hard to be a fan of something you've never at least screwed around and played.
Yeah, it's expensive like golf.
Yeah.
Like it's really expensive.
Might be more.
Yeah.
There's paint.
Because there's the paint.
Yeah.
If you're in a tournament, you have to have paint. And then if you make it through into, you know, the Sunday, because you play, Friday and Saturday to make it into the Sunday. You got to have enough points to get into the quarterfinal, then the semifinal and the rest, right? If you run out of paint, you got to fucking scramble for paint from other people that might have got eliminated that maybe got extra paint. Either they're going to sell it to you or donate it to you. But if they don't, you're fucked. Your tournament's done. You can't play if you got no paint. And that is the one thing that, like, the gun you could buy that year and use that the year it came out and use it for a couple years before you got fucking upgrade your gun to something else, right? So it's a one-time buy for a minute, right? Same goes with your pack, your pads, your, you know, goggles, the whole get up. But the paint is the consistent thing that you're going to be paying for. You've paid your entry fee, all that stuff. Then you got to pay for your hotel and have enough money to feed yourself through this 3-day event and hope that you get to that Sunday. And if you're sponsored, you're good with paint. But if you're not, you're buying, and it's expensive.
Every time,
man.
It's like going shooting guns and shit. It's like ammo's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's, you know, like, but that's how dope it was. And that's how big it was, is that you had like at least 200 teams signing up for every for every event.
Ooh. And
it would draw crowds. It, like, they did the one here strategically, like, brilliant, right? Whenever the surf competition, the OP surf competition was happening in Huntington Beach, boom, they'd like put it in that time because there's already a massive amount of people there for the surf competition. Boom, here goes the paintball competition. to the south of it. On the north end of the beach, it's the surf competition. On the south end, paintballers are down there, and a lot of people would be intrigued by it, like, what the fuck is going on down there? And they'd trickle on over into there. So boom, they would have a huge audience of paintball enthusiasts and people that were like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
And that was brilliant.
That is smart.
The other events weren't as packed as that one, but there was enough people there, like, celebrating paintball and getting down with it. In every city we went, at every state we went to that they held an event. Yeah, there was like 200 teams. So like, it showed you that the sport was thriving because people wanted to play. And there were new teams coming up all over the place in the rookie, novice, and amateur levels. You got to earn your way up to pro. You cannot just create a team and go pro. They don't allow that. They didn't allow that. Not in the MPPL. I think you had to like rank up. It's almost like soccer or like football, as they say now.
Yeah, you're always taking pics. You're a big fan of soccer.
Yeah. LAFC, man, that's the team.
Yeah. Repping them right now, I see.
All day.
Yeah.
They got a game tonight.
Okay.
Against the others. We'll just call them that.
He's a fierce competitor. I can tell just by the way you talk about competition.
Yeah.
The paintball, is it similar to being in a group?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, with Cypress Hill, whenever we took stage, like if it's our show, our whole thing is to, give 100% energy and kill it for the crowd and that, right? But if we're doing like a festival or, like a mixed genre show where, like a radio show or something like that, where it's these mixed artists. And when we take our slot, we're looking to chop everybody's goddamn head off. You know what I mean? Like whoever's coming after us better bring it. That's how we're looking at it every time. We're going to keep you honest.
Damn.
And
that's that OG talk right there.
And if we're coming last, then we're going to close the show proper. You know what I mean? And if someone, comes at it like, hey, you got to follow this, we're more than ready, but that's that competitive nature in us. All of us played sports to some degree. Muggs and Sendog were baseball players. Sendog played some semi-pro football. I didn't play organized ball like they did, but I love to play basketball and football and obviously paintball. So it's a very we have, and Bobo was a track runner apparently in his high school days. So everybody comes from a competitive nature, right? So it's the way we take the stage. Like when we go up there, we want to be the best thing you saw that night. So we're going to go up there and give it to you like that. And if we do our job, we won people over, or we'll leave people saying, yo, man, they killed it. As opposed to, they were all right.
Yeah.
But you're going to get that. There are going to be some haters that will say that, but the people that actually saw it will come and say, you know what? I don't know what the fuck you saw. This was that, and we live for that. So, we're definitely competitive on all levels.
Yeah. 100%. What was it like working on with Fast? I saw you were on Fast and Furious, the movie, the first one. They listed you in the credits.
Did they?
Yeah.
It was. I can't remember what song it was.
I was like, holy, what a famous ass movie at this point, man.
Yeah, I know we did one.
You did some acting stuff though,
we did the one with Idris Elba in it, where it was Sean Hobbs. I know we did something for that too.
Okay.
I think. Fuck, we've done so much shit.
I know.
But yeah, I've done a couple acting roles here and there. It wasn't necessarily my passion to do that. I take them as they come. Like for me, I don't like to go like try to read for something, and because it's not something that I look to do. Mm-hmm. Like if someone sees me in something and they say, hey B, we want you for this. Cool, I'll go do that. But it was never like a desire for me to go get in films and stuff like that. I'd rather be behind the camera if I'm going to do that. But Yeah, I mean, like I'm always open. If someone were to come and say, "Hey, we want you for this role. We see you playing this," I'll take a stab at it. But I was never one to like really, music was my passion, and so I stuck with that. But a lot of artists do that. They'll cross over from music to film or TV and stuff like that. And again, I've tried it here and there, but it wasn't like one of those passions where I pursued it and told our agents, "Hey, I need to get in films."
Yo, so if you guys didn't know already, everybody's switching to drip. Terps are a really big deal in today's market, but most importantly, so is the flavor. So everybody's switching to drip and feeding their flavor. And if you want to switch to drip, reach out to us.
Family at firstsmokeoftheday.com. Let us know. I want to switch to Drip Hydro.
We're dripped out. We're right here, our favorite place to go, where the pros go to grow, at Grow Generation. Over 60 stores nationwide, either in-store or online. Use our code
FirstSmoke10. Family, get online if you're shopping for grow goods, FirstSmoke10, or in-store anywhere in the U.S.
Tell them the First Smoke family sent you. We'll see you there. Yo, we got a gift from Dr. Dabber. Excess.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I can gift. Dr. Dabber, come on, man. The homie. Big things right here.
Take us all the way back, man, to the early days, because you guys have been rocking for so damn long. It's just impressive. How many years has it been?
Since 91. We put out our first record in 91.
And in 93, you guys go #1 on the Billboard.
Yeah, which is
like
Black Sunday. Yeah.
Before, for people to understand, it's like before everything. It's almost like pre-magazine. Like it's like that was the thing you looked at was like magazine, like no internet.
Yeah.
No, no, none of that. Radio, magazines.
Yeah, there was a handful of publications where you got the info from. Yeah.
And that's it. And so like going out and touching and reaching the world, it must have felt so much different than it does now.
It is different than it is now. I mean, you could reach so many more people quickly, through your social media, whatever, whatever platform you use. But it's not the same, like actually touching ground and seeing these people and actually selling the units as opposed to what it is today with streams and stuff like that, because you had to actually go be in front of a lot of these folks. You know what I mean? We used to have to go to the record stores and do what they call meet and greets now. But it was like a promo stop. You went and met your fans, shook their hands, took pictures, signed autographs, all the stuff. And if you won them over, they bought your album. If they didn't, you planted a seed and maybe they will later. Right. And then you go do the promo shows, which you don't get paid for. It's just like you're trying to win folks over so that you can get on someone's tour, or, you build your following to make your own tour. And it's all those little things, man, that you go through at the beginning that we did, like, to like invested time in like being with the people and interacting and constantly engaging. That's always been a thing with Cypress. So when the internet got put up and all these, .com started happening, we got into that early because we knew it was going to be a new way to interact with the fans and whatnot. Hence, like doing a live stream. When I started doing our live stream, which was about 10, 12 years ago, I started my platform via Stickam. And Stickam was a competitor of Ustream. It was actually bigger than Ustream, bigger follower base, bigger subscription base. It was off the chain. So we started there. And, I got into the streaming from that time to now, from Stickam. And
I think Kenji was saying like you guys like use webcams and like
we had
tape them and shit.
Yeah, we had like
I was like, because we're like asking him a bunch of questions. We're always looking for information.
Yeah, when we started, I had a small studio in Chatsworth. It was a recording studio proper. It wasn't like for film or any of that stuff or any of that. It was just we did it in the lobby. I rigged like 7 Logitech cams and like I had a bunch of cams, man, for no reason, just to get different angles. Because we would like, we would do a sit down conversation thing and then we would throw, mixes in between them. So, I tried to make the DJ thing like look like it was going faster by having different angles over the top, the side, the front, the hands, all the shit, right? And it worked. We had a lot of people watching that show. But for what I do now, it all began there. But even before that, it was radio. We were doing a show called Soul Assassin's Show on 92.3 The Beat. And, so when we had that platform, we were able to plug our music, plug our events like the Smoke Out that we created and things like that. And I realized when we let that go because of politics, I had to let that job go, that we needed a platform. So, the streaming happened and we were able to bridge that with the music and with the cannabis and everything now, I know that was kind of a broad answer, but
you're just like when I realize how long it's been since you've even been doing that with the streaming and the live shows and everything, you're just like, you just adapt quick and you're like ahead of your time though, with your visions and stuff. And then you're consistent. It's just impressive to see. And like all those angles, who knew like that's what you need now. You need transitions to keep people's attention. You were doing that so early on. People probably didn't even realize like it just has them locked in the show the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, some folks still have it simplified. They just show the DJ, boom. And some got the angles down and you see more movement, more flow. And for me, that was always it. I didn't want anyone to be bored watching what we do. You're either laughing or this is taking you somewhere, right? And so for the mixes, that definitely, if you don't have an image popped up behind the DJ or in front of the DJ while he's mixing, it gets sort of boring if he's not doing like exhibition style DJing, like for instance, a mix master Mike or a DJ Lord or a Qbert or DJ Muggs when they're doing like all the crazy the turntablist type of tricks. That you don't need a bunch of angles. You could leave that shit on one angle and people are like, wow, look what he's doing.
Yeah.
But if he's just mixing and cutting, you need different things to keep it moving. And that was always on my mind, like keeping it moving. And that's always on my mind, whether it's we're doing music or we're streaming or we're in this cannabis shit or whatever it is, constant movement, man. I don't like to be stagnant. So it goes back to why I don't really take breaks.
Yeah.
I like to keep a forward flow.
I'm sure you have people telling you all the time, enjoy yourself, man.
That's the thing I do.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I found it. Like, I'm doing it.
I enjoy my work. It's some of the people that stress me the fuck out in the middle.
Yeah. I bet.
Did the DJing get you into breakdancing? Is that what that?
No, the breakdancing and the popping was the first thing to get me, and then the rapping. And as I'm becoming a rapper and we start doing demos, I'm like intrigued by how dope Muggs is. Because, we knew Julio G. Julio G introduced us to Muggs, and Julio G was a badass DJ from like our side of town and whatnot. He was our friend and stuff like that. And we got to see him develop. But like as he developed, he started rocking with KDAY on the Mixmaster show, which was an AM station that played hip hop in the mid and late 80s before they went off the air in 90 or 91. And he was a DJ there. So we didn't really get to see him get down. We heard him on the radio, whereas Muggs, we'd see, because he wanted to be not just a DJ, he wanted to be a competitive DJ, go into the DMCs and battle out for a belt, you know what I mean? And so I got to see that, and that turned me into an enthusiast, So I started trying to learn the shit I seen him do way back before the Serato, when people were, doing it with vinyl, and he showed me the marking and what the marking meant to cut on the one, on the kick or the snare, and how to do the chases and the doubles and stuff like that. He taught me like my foundation stuff when he saw that I was enthusiastic about it. And then the bulk of what I learned of DJing was from guys like, rest in peace, my boy Jay Turner, Julio G, who helped me build my foundation proper when he realized, you do this. Okay, let me show you. Because he saw that I was trying to do it and I was a little sloppy because I had done it in a while. So he gave me some techniques to brush up on. And then, when we brought on Mixmaster Mike, seeing how, like how he worked his plates in the mixer and all that shit, I learned a lot from him. And being with DJ Lord right now, as him coming on to tackle the duties of DJ for Cypress Hill, one of the baddest DJs in the world. Him and I have cut sessions, and we have small little. He indulges me, really. He's not practicing. He's just fucking around with me, but he's showing me things within that, right? So like he'll show me something, I'll go back to the studio and I'll practice it and come back and hit him with it. I can't show you nothing. Because his whole thing
competition.
He don't think I'm gonna get it, or maybe that's just his way of pumping me up. You know what I mean? But I learned a lot from watching all these DJs, and Fred Reck too. He's a producer and DJ, rolls with M and Snoop and Dr. Dre. He was also one that helped me clean up my style and shit. I didn't really have a style. It was just trying to DJ clean because I was getting offers to, hey, come DJ this club or that club. And they wanted to make sure I was mixing clean so that nobody could talk shit. Because that's the main thing. If you're going to DJ a club, you got to make it clean. It can't be no sloppy shit. And fortunately, to this day, I've not fucking done no sloppy work at a club, when it happens.
Do you still DJ here and there?
Oh yeah,
on Be Real TV a lot.
Yeah.
On Be Real TV, yeah.
What about
like at a club and stuff?
Yeah. They'll call me now and then for some DJ gigs and stuff like that.
That's dope.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe when you go do it like that, right?
And not a lot of people know. It's not like I've gone out of my way to market myself as a DJ. I do it on Twitch, but that's like our fan base knows this. You know what I mean? If other promoters or agents maybe knew that, they'd probably hit me up. Cause I play everything. I don't just play hip hop. I do all the shit. Cause I learned what makes people move is what you play, not just your favorite shit. Cause if I play just all my favorite shit, the girls stand on the wall and they're like, when is he going to play a song that I could dance to? And I learned not to DJ like that. I learned keep girls on the floor, forget what the homies are talking about. They could listen to that shit in their car on the way home.
Man.
I keep the party cracking, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's crazy is in doing that, I learned to like the songs that I didn't like before. I saw it in it. When you see the girls just having a good time to this shit, and you're you got the party cracking. You learn to have an appreciation for a song that you might have said, man, I would never play this to myself. But hey, you're a DJ. Got to keep the floor cracking. And again, you eventually learn to appreciate some of those songs. Coming from someone who grew up off of hardcore hip hop and metal. Metal was what I was really into before I got into hip hop. And it was all that, that darker, Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and AC/DC and Rush and that sort of shit. You know what I mean? So that's the mentality I had, but that's not going to rock a party. So
yeah, it's too heavy.
Yes.
If you play too heavy shit in a club or anything like that, even still now,
we'll like it, but we'd be the only three in the club.
Yeah. It's just all the dudes, but it's just the wrong energy you don't want in the club at all.
No, it's better when the girls are dancing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Balances it out.
Yeah.
Speaking of gigs and stuff, You think Saturday Night Live will ever call you guys back? Get you guys back on the show?
I mean, they could, because they have a bunch of cannabis type sketches that have ran after we were there. And in New York, it's legal now. And so, yeah, sure. I don't think they will.
Yo, First Smoke family, if you want to know where to get all the most exclusive stuff done for your brand at, it's moodtrades.com. Use the code FSOTD and they're going to take care of you. Fast turnarounds, low minimums, and they know what they're doing. High quality products where we get all our stuff done for the podcast at. Grinders, trays, rolling cradles, all types of the new things that are dropping. Go check them out. Tell them the family sent you. They're going to take care of you. Appreciate it.
What was it like that day when you went that night?
Oh, we were like any.
They didn't make it a big deal. It was like no big deal.
Well, no, I mean, creatively they loved it, but they knew that they were going to have some backlash from people that were, from Dare and Mad, calling them about, hey, these guys are smoking cannabis on live TV, and then the FCC, all that stuff. So yeah, they had to ban us because, they
cover their ass.
And so we're like in this we're on a pretty substantial ban list. When you think about it, you got what's her name? Sinead O'Connor.
You guys paved the way.
You got Rage Against the Machine, Cypress Hill, and 3 or 4, maybe 5 other groups. We're in a small select group, man,
Not many people are banned, huh?
Not many people are banned. Well, because they go in there and they're safe about it.
Yeah.
We decided not to be safe.
In the early 90s too.
Would you guys come together that night though and be like, yo, we're going to light up? Or do you just kind of say, fuck it and do it?
No, we had a plan to do that. It's just Muggs did it like in the beginning when we had thought, like our discussion was we were going to do it at the end. But I think the record company and, the people from the label that were there and some of the folks from Saturday Night Live kept on coming in to warn us not to smoke. For some reason, most especially him. They provoked him because at that point, at first he was going to be like, okay, we won't smoke. But even though we're going to smoke at the very end, he was just telling him, like, no, okay, cool. But they weren't buying it. So they kept laying into him. And he was like, fuck it, I'm going to smoke off the top then. He didn't tell him that. He just did it. That's why we were all like kind of looking around like, oh shit, he did it off top.
Like, is that OG?
And yeah. And then,
gets up to the mic.
And then we were supposed to like wait to the end and we were going to smash our whole set like the Who. But Muggs, he jumped the gun and he went and pushed Bobo's congas over before the song was over. And Bobo had started with the full set. And at the end, he had just one. And it didn't go the way we had planned it.
Shit got out of hand quick.
But it made its mark and it made its impact because he blazed that no matter what, no matter where it was supposed to be, he blazed it, right? Which was great for the cannabis culture. Like this dude just blazed on Saturday Night Live.
Fucking New York.
And that was live then. Yeah, that was full go mode.
And then
what year was this?
This was 93.
Yep.
And then we get banned, which added to our legend. Hey, they banned Cypress Hill from Saturday Night Live.
Hit media all over.
Yeah.
That
is the weed community. They're like, hell yeah.
Yeah. We sacrificed our play for the culture. I was wearing a graphics shirt from the Graphics Balls guys.
Yo.
Yeah. And I had a backpack on,
man.
And I had a backpack on my back. And then the term backpack rap eventually starts happening. And really that wasn't a thing to us, but I just happened to be wearing a fucking backpack on one of the performances, I think.
Damn, that's
one
crazy.
with and one without. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, it was It was a trippy time, man. We had a lot of juice then, and we fucking burned it on Saturday Night Live. For sure.
420, I'm calling it.
What a
420. They got to come back out and do the 420 show or
what
something.
a G,
right? It's
though.
like, come on.
Just said fuck it. I'm blazing the whole
Muggs
thing.
is like that. You cannot tell him that he can't do something because then he's just gonna fucking do it. I mean, we're all like that. Had they told me that, I probably would have waited till the end, like the plan. But I would have done it. Whereas Muggs was like, "Fuck that."
They're getting this one the whole show. They're gonna smell.
You getting this off the top?
What was he on some OG?
And this, I don't remember what it was. Probably
might have been
Haze because it was in New York. And they said I couldn't blaze this backstage, but I ain't going out like that. Da 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 da. He fucking lit it up, and we went with it. Cause I mean, that's what you do. We didn't want to stop and be like, act like we were surprised he did it. It was just, we were surprised he did it at the front. Cause like, we didn't know if we had done it at the front, were they going to cut the broadcast? Were they going to cut us off?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They kept it rolling and they put it in syndication and it fucking still rolls out to this day. Banned us, but put it in syndication and you could still see him say the same spiel. They didn't like fucking cut it. They didn't edit it out. None of that stuff. It's still there. Yo, they said I couldn't light my joint.
We gotta look it up now.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. They have the full thing.
YouTube.
Yeah, tons of views.
But when Saturday Night Live, you see it on one of these shows that's in syndication, like let's just say Comedy Central had it in syndication for a while. And I think maybe VH1 or something like that. When they would run the old episodes, that one would come up constantly. And they never edited it out. They never shortened it. They didn't cut the beginning. They left as is.
I wonder how it boosted the views and shit.
Oh, I would imagine it.
You know?
I would imagine
why they kept it around. They're like,
that's why they kept it around.
It's a good one.
Shit, yeah, with Shannon Doherty, who was the bad girl at the time. So we were like, fuck, we played right in perfectly with what was going on with her, and then what we pulled that night. Yeah, it was like the perfect setup. You know,
was fire
because she didn't give a fuck at that point. She was just making crazy ass moves, and we did the same thing on that night. And it was a funny night. Like the actual show was pretty fucking funny. So yeah, we knew that would be in syndication. Whether we knew whether we were gonna be in the cut still, we didn't know, but it ended up staying in there. So it's dope. And I still love Saturday Night Live. I hold no grudges or any of that. I know what they had to do because at the time it was taboo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, us getting away with that, they weren't going to allow it. So for a while, like on NBC, we didn't get booked for nothing until I think Conan O'Brien and Jay Leno decided, fuck it, we're going to bring them on. And
way later.
Yeah. Way later.
And then on the flip side, you did a Rugrats movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised when they asked me for that. And it was just the song. Like just doing the intro song or whatever it was, but like I was still surprised because I was so fucking big.
Which song
at the
was
it? Fuck, I can't remember. I think it was the intro to the movie where they're where we're fucking saying all the crazy lines to it.
I definitely watched Rugrats as a kid.
Oh yeah.
I would have did the voiceovers had they asked me, but they just asked us for the voiceover for the intro to the song. So we're like, all right, let's do it.
Speaking of crazy shows and shit, what was it like in doing the Woodstock?
That was nuts. That shit was crazy.
Like, what was that lineup like?
Well, we were used to doing festivals in Europe at this point because we had done a few. And they were like, 60,000 people, 50,000 people. So we thought, we got this, right? We've done this now. This is nothing. And we get there and, some of us went by boat because there was only two ways you could get in. You had like wherever the drop off was, you had to get to the rest of the way. You either went on boat or the helicopter. I went in the helicopter and I seen the enormity of what the crowd was. And it was like literally 500,000 people there. And we're like, oh shit, this is nothing like what we have just done. This is like what we've done times 10. And so like when I'm a little nervous at this point going up there. but confident because by now, you know, we've done enough shows to like get up there and do what we do. How they were gonna embrace us, we did not know because it's Woodstock. It's a mixed lineup, and Salt and Pepper and us are the only hip hop on the shit, you know, at this point for this day. And so when we go on from first song to, you know, last, it was just the crowd was blowing up. And like when the sea of people are jumping and, you know, not in unison, it looks like water, you know, waves happening.
Wow.
It tripped me the fuck out. Like, but in a good way. I was like, because you know, it was a trip to see that they were singing all the words and jumping up and down and going nuts, and it took hold in that moment. But like, yeah, it was a trip. Like because it was a rotating stage, so when we rotated and we got to see what the crowd looked like, and everybody's jumping to our shit, we're like, whoa! I was taken back for sure.
That's fucking wild. And that was in what year was it? Like 97 or
93?
93.
Woodstock.
Upstate New York.
93 was a big year.
It was a big year. We did a lot of crazy shit that year. Because I mean, Insane was a #1 song, and we had broke some records. They don't really talk about it too much, but like we had I think the first of having 2 albums in the top 200 on Billboard, one at #1, which was Black Sunday, and Cypress Hill, that climbed from its first point when we released it. Like it started for a week on the charts, and it was in the 170, 180, and it dropped off. And then Kill a Man popped off, and it popped all the way back up, and slowly but surely it's making its way back up to the top 10 as we're about to release Black Sunday. And when we release Black Sunday, it comes in at #1, and Cypress Hill, the self-titled, is now up in the top 10. It might have even been at #5 or something like that. So we were like the first hip hop group to do that. And then there was a record that Ice Cube had, I think, of his first week was 270,000 units in the first week, which no hip hop group had done up to that point. Like Cube, you know, smashed everybody's first week. I can't remember which album that was, but then when we hit with Black Sunday, our first week was like 360,000 albums in a week. And then we held the #1 spot for, I think, like in between 4 and 6 weeks at #1 with that Insane in the Brain shit, which, you know, we were the first to do that in hip hop. And yeah, man, it just 93 turned into a year that we did not anticipate. We're just out there doing the work, and all this crazy shit's happening, and we're like, oh shit, okay. It's what they say, you know, the fruits of your labor. You go out there, you put in the work, and if you're putting in quality work, and for sure, you know, Sony backed everything that we did up. They believed in what we were doing, so they just supported everywhere they could have and should have, to make it a bigger impact. And man, we had a fucking huge impact.
Yeah.
And we didn't even think that was the song that should have went out. We thought it should have been We Ain't Going Out Like That. We were like, Insane in the Brain? No, we ain't going out like that's better. Like, no, trust us, Insane in the Brain. We're like, all right, that's what you want to do. We thought totally they were going to lose and we were going to fuck this all up. Nope, we were wrong. I said, I'll never pick a song ever again. I'm going to let y'all pick.
What's that album goes to #1? Does it, you guys are already bubbling, people already know about, but does it just everything change at that point?
Yeah. I mean, whereas we could sneak into, let's just say, a shopping mall and the fuck off and get whatever, you know, and be anonymous. No, that stopped happening. We walked into malls and people were like, oh shit, it's Cypress Hill. And not, you know, not for nothing. We had homies that didn't realize when they wore a Cypress Hill shirt around us, they were basically billboards, like, and arrows pointing to.
Oh yeah, all your boys and shit.
I used to get kicked out of malls when I would go, and it wasn't because I was trying to, you know, pull people up. I was just trying to go get shit. But like when one person would find out, news travels fast. And then like a gathering of 100 to 1,000 people and mall security is like, hey, love your music, but you got to go. Because this right here cannot happen. This is like an issue. Like, oh, okay. So at that point, you know, like that's when we start seeing the difference that we're not, you know, a private citizen any longer. Now we're public. The people know who we are. We can't just, you know, go anywhere and be carefree, you know, like we were before. Mm-hmm. We have to conduct ourselves in a certain way, and we got to know that people are watching and all this other shit. So it's a complete different get down that you have to have once that happens.
Were your parents around then?
Yeah.
To see that happen?
Yeah.
What'd they think?
My mother loved it. She was proud. And my father, you know, he was trying to understand it, but he was also proud, but he, you know, like he didn't see it coming. My mother like would hear it.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah. You know,
the older generations.
Yeah. My mother was a little bit open though. But you know, like any other parents, hey, you need to get a job because you don't know if this is going to happen or not. You don't know, like all that sort of shit. Because my father drove trucks. He taught my other brothers to drive trucks. I learned how to drive trucks, but I didn't want to drive trucks. So I think he thought that's where I was going, but I would not go there. You know what I mean? Like somewhere, like I always loved music, but somehow I found it in me to do it. And it started with poetry and shit. And when I met Sendog's brother Mellow Man, he sort of taught me how to flip the poetry into like a rap, because you know that's where it started for me as like, you know, getting creative, you know, artistically in the rap shit. Because like before I was just writing poetry, listen to oldies and metal and some reggae here and there. You know, and whatever my mother, when she played in the house, like all the Latin music that would pop off, you know, but that's sort of what got me into the transition was Mello showing me how you flip a poem into an actual rap over a beat on beat. So that's where it started for me. And I realized, man, I ain't going to do shit else but this, but it didn't happen overnight like that. You know, I had to like go through it being the hobby because I loved hip hop first, you know, and it wasn't until, you know, like they started working on Mello's first album. Like Mello got a deal, Muggs and Julio G and those guys kind of helped get him his first deal. And I was gangbanging. I was like straight up gangbanging, but they knew I could write. So, you know, they were like trying to get me off the street and be like, hey, come to the studio and help Mello write this album. And I wrote 2 songs on it. But at first I was resistant. I was like, what am I going to do? This shit ain't going to get paid off this rap shit. What are you, crazy? Wow. I was out there gang.
Think forward on that now.
Yeah. That was totally ate all the shit I talked, right? But something like, I was like, all right, fuck it. What do I got to lose? I go there and at first, like I can't come up with any ideas, but then some ideas sparked through a couple of beats Muggs plays me. I eventually write the first one, which was, I think, Talkapella or something like that. And then the second one was River Cubanos, which were both beats done by Muggs. For some reason, Muggs would always make something that sparked an idea for me, where I didn't hear it in other places. And so I wrote those 2 songs. And as I'm in the studio with these guys, you know, and Muggs, Mello is signed to Delicious Vinyl at this time with Young MC and Tone Loc and you know, some of the bigger artists on the West Coast at this time, I started kind of like loving being in the studio as opposed to being on the corner, you know, out there banging and you know, I started to love the creative process. So I found myself more in the studio than on the street at that point. And I had to make a choice because I wasn't going to bring this shit over into this because these guys were taking a chance on me and pulling me off the street to come right and create an opportunity there. So I didn't want to fuck their opportunity up by me being selfish and stupid and hard-headed by thinking I can do this and be gangbanging. So I let the gangbang shit go. And my homies, fortunately, they understood that because I'd put enough time and enough soldiering in for no one to question, you know, loyalty and heart and all the things in being in a gang, right? So I made my clean break like that and you know, fully jumped into the music. And it was because of that first album Mello was making, where he allowed me to come write him something. So salute to Mello for that.
Yeah, huge
that was,
shout out.
If not for him, really, I'm not here.
Damn.
Yeah.
And him like, pushing to be like, get off the street, you know?
What was it like being, you know, like being a younger kid at that time and then being in the streets?
Wild
Were
because
you like partying a lot or like what was it like?
Yeah, we did a lot of crazy shit. We partied a lot with the Cypress crew before, you know, I was gangbanging. Yeah, as a young kid, we were partying a lot. I was always one of the youngest. And then when I went over into, you know, gangbanging, we partied, but we stood, you know, ready. Partied, but ready. But not always careless, man. You know, when we were partying, we would make sure we weren't like slipping out in open and being sloppy where, you know, someone would come take advantage of that. But yeah, they were crazy times, especially if you were gangbanging, because depending on where you lived, you never knew what car was hitting the corner on you to come serve your ass up. And then, you know, if they come get you, you got to go get them. And it goes back and forth, especially in the summertime, it would happen. The summers were fucking crazy. You know, and if one of us got caught slipping, like going through a neighborhood and, you know, there was a blood going through a Crip neighborhood and they would get beat the fuck down, and vice versa. If a Crip came through a blood neighborhood and we caught you slipping, boom, we'd give it to you. And that was it. It wasn't always like death. It was more of like a beat down, like we're going to teach you a lesson right here. We're going to beat your ass up for coming down here. This is a warning. Don't come down this block again. The next time might be something different. So it was like that, and shit. You could be like any random place, and if you had any color of rag hanging out your fucking back pocket, some might have jumped out on you. You know, if they didn't serve your ass up, they might have jumped out on you to, you know, jump you right in the place they caught you at. It was crazy times, but you know, if you did it, you knew that this
what game you're
this
playing?
could happen to you. So you tried not to slip. You know, stood in your circle. I was in a blood gang. It was 89th Street Family Swans. And so that's where I was who I was soldiering with for a long time, and then till the music took me out of that. But it was crazy because, you know, I'm a Latin dude, you know, I'm mixed. I got a lot of different blood due to my mother being Cuban. She's Caribbean, so she got African blood, and my father's Mexican, got Spaniard and native blood. And my mother also with the Spaniard blood and all that stuff. So it's a crazy mix, but anyone looking in would just say, oh, he's a Mexican dude. And I'm a Mexican dude banging with black dudes. So, you know, yeah, most especially I had to be careful because, you know, other motherfuckers would be like, who's this motherfucker?
Stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in my gang, I was cool. You know, they knew. I went through all the trials and tribulations that you must go through. But like, you know, when you're partying with other neighborhoods, they're looking at you and you're slightly different. And like, the fuck is this motherfucker? Why is he here with us? And then your homies got to, you know, take up for you and like, hey, he's with us. Fuck off, you know, like that type of shit. And it could either pop off right there or I bet. Cool. You know, it's the volatile situation, but, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. It taught me a lot of things that, you know, you got to keep your head on a swivel out here, especially in LA. So,
especially in LA.
This is the mecca of that shit. This is the mecca. That's
well, Chicago
people
too.
don't realize.
Chicago's crazy too. Depending on where you're at, you got to keep the head on a swivel if you're in that life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer in that life, but what it taught me was never to have my guards down and to always be aware of my surroundings. So that I stay with that. That's what it taught me. I'm not out there looking for problems with nobody, and God willing, no one's looking for problems with me. And simple as that. But I keep the eye open and am aware. So that's what that taught me more than anything. Because I remember one of my homies telling me one time when I was a young buck, new to it, I had my back toward the street. And I didn't realize it. And all the other homies, they're facing to the street. And he pulls me aside and he says, check this here, blood. Don't be turning your back to the street. Because if someone hits the corner, you're going to be the first one. And never turned my back to the street after that. I even put it in a line in the song called Lick a Shot on the Black Sunday album. Because it's real shit.
Yeah.
There's certain things when you're going to be out there that you got to be up on game with. So that's one little thing. So
like the 10 crack commandments of the streets. It's like
it's
at that time,
risk, man.
Are you already smoking at that time?
Oh yeah.
Already smoking.
Oh yeah. I was smoking big.
What was the first bud you got that was like, whoa, this is different?
And we got to ask, what was your first time smoking weed?
First time smoking weed, I was probably in the 5th or 6th grade.
Ooh.
I hung with like some, metal kids because I was listening to metal and oldies, as I said before. But we used to have this older homie who was a gangbanger from the set was East LA Tiny Dukes. At least that's what he claimed. We didn't know if he was really from there or not, but his name was Eloy. And he had a little green acrylic bong, and we'd come listen to metal and oldies with the homie, and he would break out the bong and he'd hit it. And then the other homies started hitting it, and I was like, fuck it, I'll hit it too. And that was my first time. My mother kept asking me why I kept coming home hungry from school. I was like, I don't know. I'm just hungry. And so that was the first time. And the first bud that blew me the fuck away was shown to me by my homie Skate Master Tate, rest in peace, who was one of the bigger record collectors here in Southern California. He was tuned in with the skate world. He was good friends with Christian Soy, and he had done things for Nickelodeon with a lot of pro skaters, like with Tony Hawk and Gator and a lot of the old school names, big names and stuff like that. So he was big in that world, and he was also a DJ. More importantly for me, he was a weed connoisseur. And he taught me how to be a connoisseur. And one day, one of his homies had come from Hawaii, and he would not smoke any stress or any mid-level weed. Always had to be whatever the top shelf was. He didn't give a fuck. He would spend on that. Other things he would be cheap with, he would not be cheap with the weed. Right. And so he gave me that game right there. And one day, one of his homies had come from Hawaii. He was a surfer because he knew the surfers, the skaters, all those guys, because he was one of them. He used to ride a longboard, right, on the street. And this dude comes over. He goes, dude, I got some fucking amazing Maui Wowie, bro. And he was like, bullshit. Let me say it. And dude breaks out the bag. Boom. Like actual fucking Maui Wowie. You don't ever see that shit here ever. Right. And it was my first and only time seeing it. Because again, at the time you had to go out there to get it. To even see it. You might not even be able to bring it back because it's expensive at this time. But this dude was a pro surfer who brought it back. So like he could afford it. And man, it was the prettiest shit I had seen at that time. I've seen way better shit now in these days and times. But like at the time, that was it. I was like, wow, this shit is it right here. But and in hanging with Tate, and this was like all through our first album, as we're making our first album, like even it was actually before when we're making our demos, because it took us like in between 3 and 5 years to make that first album. And a lot of that album was made with his library of vinyls because he had some of the most rare shit.
Oh, it's super cool.
Yeah, and so he allowed us to use a lot of his collection. But he taught me about being a connoisseur, and after that, I didn't smoke any mid-level shit, no boof, no stress, no nothing. Because of what he gave me, the gems he dropped on me, and hey, wanting better cannabis, demanding better. And that stood with me since that time. So rest in peace to Skate Master Tape. But yeah, that was one of the first prettiest fucking colas of cannabis that I've ever seen was that Maui Wowie. Back in, I'm going to say it was probably 1990.
Early. That's cool that you're in LA and it's actually from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Trippy.
Hawaii has some fire.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of his surfer friends, they would go off to Hawaii and do, the competitions there and stuff like that. And some of them would bring back weed to him because he would take care of them while they were out here. So they would be like, hey, check out what we brought you, like out of appreciation. And sometimes they were just, coming to smoke with him, and yeah, man, fucking seeing it like the shit you only ever read about in High Times. This is that shit? Oh my God.
From that day on, you were on some connoisseurship.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. He put me on to the path.
You can't cheap out on the weed.
You cannot cheap out on the weed.
Not if you want to enjoy it.
Nah. Putting together a song like Dr. Greenthumb, and then like Tequila Sunrise, I put on all the time. I mean, that's on like 3 different playlists on my phone.
Awesome.
Yeah, that song is epic. Do you know when you're putting it together that's going to be a hit, or you're just vibing?
No, not really. I mean, I think as an artist, it's dope, but you can't really. I mean, it's a gamble because some vibes, are infectious and that they'll catch, and others need time to catch. And you never know which one you got, right? So, for instance, our first album, we knew it was dope because we knew it was different, but we didn't know what kind of impact it would have, right? Because we didn't really make it marketable. It wasn't that at all. It was more
underground, big time.
Yeah, underground and edgy. So for the first 6 months, we weren't selling a lot of records, or again, we charted at 170 something, then fell off. So it took a minute to catch, right? It wasn't like something that just happened overnight or instantly. When people started hearing Killer Man, they're like, oh, wait a minute. This shit is kind of dope right here. And then that opened the door for them to listen to other songs like Hand on the Pump and Hole in the Head and Light Another and the rest, Real Estate and whatever. It eventually starts to sink in, right? And people are like, yeah, you know what? This is kind of dope. Whereas let's just say, in comparison, Black Sunday, no one needed time on that. They fucking loved it immediately. There was not, oh, wait, let me listen to this. Oh, yeah. This was like, oh, shit. These guys caught on to something. So it's a different vibe per album. Like, for instance, Temples of Boom, we were in a very dark place. People wanted us to go more radio, and we were like, fuck that. We weren't going, we're going darker. And so we went darker, and we didn't know what it was going to do. We knew our core fans would love it because this is what core fans are. They take the ride with you. It's all the other ones are you going to win them over? Like the people that aren't necessarily core fans, the masses, and fans that they appreciate you, and they may have fucked with your first couple records, but they're, they can go one way or another. It all depends on what you put out, right? And so, yeah, with Temple of Boom, for half of our fan base, it impacted them really quickly. Like, I love this. The people that like the dark shit and the people that like the more upbeat, up tempo shit it took them time to fuck with it because it was more of a vibe than aggressive. You know what I mean? So we have well, like our fan base is a little different because we have the people who love that aggressive in your face shit. We have the people that love that slow tempo, like grimy, psychedelic, mind twist type shit. And then we have the people that like that up-tempo, you know, full color shit, you know, like that bright shit, that uplift, right? So we're fortunate to have these three different combination of fan bases, right? But you just never know what they're gonna fucking react to. So it's basically you're putting out the vibe you're in at that point. And however they receive it, they receive it. And if you're on a record label that has resources, maybe they could tap into it and figure out how to like make this fire bigger. When you're doing it independent, it's all you. So it's whatever you put into it, you know? And so it's just from one vibe to another, really. And you just never know. It's like gambling. You go to Vegas and you're throwing the dice. You may have a hot hand here and there, but you don't know if you're going to win every time you throw them dice or any game you play, no matter how good you are. And it's the same thing with putting out music. Some shit's going to hit. Some's going to go past people's heads. Some are going to just be a total L. But you just don't know which ones those are. Like sometimes you get a feeling. You might get a feeling for a certain song. And if everybody has that same feeling, then you know. That's when you know, like when everybody's like, oh, what the fuck is this right here? When you get that from a bunch of different people, that's the indication.
That's the one.
That's the one.
And it's usually not the one you think it'll be.
Yeah, and that for us, that was insane. We did not even see that shit. You know, we're like, really? This one? Okay. All right. With Killer Man, that surprised us because we're like, Killer Man, for real? I mean, we knew it was dope, but like, because it was saying how I could just kill a man, that's really aggressive. Even though the song isn't just about like, it's not glorifying violence. It's telling you scenarios on how people come to get in this situation, right? So we were like, we know that that's going to be a harder sell on people, but that ended up going, you know. But we knew it was dope. We were like, okay, cool. With Insane, we knew it was dope and it was a great album song, but it was a diss song. So we were like, y'all want a diss song as a single? But we didn't see it for what they saw it for, and they didn't see it for what what it originally was. But they were right. Shit, it ended up being our biggest song and launched us again. It was a bigger launch than what Killer Man had for us because it was more marketable. It wasn't as aggressive in the wording. Here is something you can't understand how I could just kill a man. It's insane in the membrane, insane in the brain. You know, it's, but the beats are similar in the way they move. They're aggressive, they're upbeat, they're around the same tempo. I think Insane might be slightly faster, but it gets people moving. And that was something that we didn't look at. We just, because we were so trying to be dark, let's do the darkest shit possible.
Yeah.
But, that's why some artists should not pick their singles. Let the experts do that.
Well, it's like, that's the goal, right? It's like a massive single is a diss song. Like that would be the goal, is like, I'm going to create, because that would be the goal now, is like, I'm going to create a diss song and then that thing's going to be number one.
Yeah.
That's like,
who knew? We were like, oh shit. And, for us, it was a diss to Chubb Rock, right? Because Chubb Rock, I felt, hit us on, what was the song? Cali Blaze? It was Yabba Dabba Do? I think on his second album, right? Yabba Dabba Do. He's spitting some, and I was a fan of Chubb Rock because this motherfucker is dope, and he still is. If you hear him, he's dope. And I don't have no animosity towards him now, like it's water under the bridge. We were young and full of piss and vinegar, as they say, right? But there's a line in in Yabba Dabba Doo. And you know, everybody knew at that time, if you were a fan of Chubb Rocks or just knew any of it, he was a straight edge rapper. He didn't like talk about smoking weed, blunts, all that was against in his circle. He didn't like the gun talk, the gangster shit. He always spoke like more positivity and light, as opposed to the darkness we were bringing. So in Yabba Dabba Doo, he's flexing a dope style. And then in the middle of, I think the second verse or wherever, he goes, he's buzzing, coming at ya. Sorry that I had to what ya? Time for some lyrics. And that's a play off of our Killer Man song, humming, coming at ya. Sorry that I had to gotcha. Right? So I thought he took a stab at us, right? So he called himself the flamboyant one in a lot of his songs. So hence the beginning line of Insane, to the one on the flamboyant tip, I'll toss that ham in the frying pan.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
where that comes from. See, now it was all subliminal shit. So like, cause he didn't necessarily mention Cypress Hill. We felt it was a subliminal diss. So I subbed him back. Who knew it was going to be a huge song like that though? We didn't. Underneath, I was just like kind of laughing at that shit. Like, damn, who knew?
Things charting.
This little jab I put back on homie, and what's crazy is that last year he hit me on my IG in the DMs. He was like, dude, I had no idea. Right? Because I think after our Insane in the Brain documentary comes out, I don't know, did we address that? I think it was some interview I did for somewhere, and someone tagged him in it so that he was like, hey, yo, did you ever see this? And blah, blah, blah. And so he hit me. I was like, man, I had no idea. I'm like, hey, man, it was a long time ago. And we were kids, practically. There's water under the bridge. I got love for you, man. It is, it is what it is. And I could explain to him why, because it's we listened to the song in the studio the other day, right? And because they all thought I was tripping. He didn't diss you. You're crazy. He couldn't have dissed you guys. And I played it for him, and the line came up, and everybody was like, "Oh," like that. He did diss.
Yeah.
No one took it like it was like, like a big up, because there's times where you'll hear a phrase and they're trying to big up you, like they're trying to say salute, like a tribute. Yeah. But he was against the weed, and he was against the guns, and he was against the gangs and the violence and all this. And we weren't glorifying none of it. We were talking about where we came from and our experiences there. And maybe, we just fell into the lump of these people talking shit for the sake of talking shit. And, and we were the it group at the time rising up. So it seemed like he took a jab at us, man. And if I'll challenge all y'all that are watching and listening, and including y'all, go listen to that song, Yabba Dabba Doo, and then you hit me up and tell me if you thought that was a compliment or a diss. I'm going to tell you that I still today think it was a diss back then. Maybe we read it wrong, but it sounded like a diss.
This whole time the song blew up, he didn't even know it was a diss on him.
Next thing you know, you get like a voice memo. He's coming back with some lyrics. He's like 30 years later. I got something for you.
I mean, he has to understand why. I mean, he wrote the lyrics that he wrote with my cadence behind it. And he said, buzzing, coming at you. Sorry that I had to what ya? Like, he didn't understand any of the, like, it was a subliminal inside a subliminal. Here is something you can't understand. Sorry that I had to what ya? Like, he can't understand what we're talking about. It's not. And so, like, I was pissed because I was a fan of Chubb Rock, and we had done shows with him the year before on the first album, and we had done stuff with him. So, like, I thought we were cool, and then I heard that shit. I was like, no. Oh, we don't take that shit on Cypress Hill.
That's that competitive nature of B, bro.
Yeah, we don't take that shit. If you're coming after me, you better know I'm coming after you right back. Yeah. And you better bring the lunch, dinner, and extras.
of the smoke box, one of my favorite things you guys do. I mean, I've seen almost all of them. I love to see people get in there.
Man, I gotta say,
and
you're wrong. You're wrong for doing the smoke box, man.
Oh man,
Put you in that position.
I swear to God, you're right.
You break a man down quick, bro.
Oh man, I broke
shit.
it myself down a couple
Holy
times.
fuck.
That's what I was gonna ask. Have there been a couple where you're like, whoo?
There was a couple I came out like pretty goddamn high, yes. But we live that, so that's not an everyday.
Yeah.
It's not foreign to us.
Mm-hmm.
We train for this. So if you come in our building and you're trying to smoke with us, smoke at your pace. Don't try to smoke like us, because it might be slightly different. Like we chain smoke the weed in there, and it's not because we have to. It's because we want to. And so, like when someone comes into the box and they think it's going to be casual, it's not really that.
Bro.
It's like we are here.
First your eyes go, then you can't fucking breathe.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like there's a technique to survive in the box, and I told Burner this.
You don't move.
Right. See, my man pays attention.
Hey.
I stay perfectly still. Perfectly still. This is all I'm doing. And I might do this occasionally when they're talking, and then I'm back to here. Very robotic, right? But it's about breathing, right? And trying not to cough. Like the first little cough you get or big cough you get, you ain't stopping for the rest. And then it's a wrap. Then we got to just shut it down because it's not usable. We've had to shut down a couple and reshoot them because of that little fucking cough. And the thing is that if you go in there trying to take those big ass monster hits and you're prone to coughing, it's already filled with smoke in there by this time. And like you're getting that extra, you're trying to blow it out. You're trying to blow it out. And then like, as you're coughing, you're taking some of it back in and coughing it out. It's just a circle of fuckery. And you're done at that point. So I try to tell people, take controlled hits, you know what I mean? And let it ride out. Don't hold it in, just let it ride out. Because when you try to hold it in there, man, it's over. I don't care who you think
You're already breathing it.
One of the greatest episodes is the actor. I can't remember. He's the cop in Scream, the first Scream movie.
David Arquette.
David Arquette's episode with you is one of my hands down favorite because
he was great.
Oh, bro, he's hilarious. And you guys, that thing is, you can't even see in there. And he starts that cough.
Yeah.
And the eyes start going. And then it just reminds me of this dude. That's why I love it.
Hey, he put on the seatbelt. We weren't going nowhere. Put on the fucking seatbelt. Dave is a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
And it was great to have him. But yeah, he was mad nervous going in. He was like, I don't know if I should do this. And we're like, hey, it's going to be fine. Just, smoke at your pace. Because that's the first thing I tell him. Look, you ain't got to outsmoke me. It's not a race to the finish. Just, we're going to have a conversation and then it'll be done. And some motherfuckers are like, hey, man, is there a tap button that you guys have here for this? Is there like an out button, or do you guys just torture people? That's like this whole time, like, damn, okay. I guess it is torture for someone that doesn't, smoke like we smoke down there, like to be in there with 4 guys smoking individual joints. It's not like we're sharing. We don't do that. It's everybody has their individual piece and we go for it. And yeah, it gets overwhelming for some, not for everybody. Like Wiz, he handled it. He got a little hot and he peeled off his shirt because we were doing it in the dead of the summer and we didn't have AC in the building and the windows are rolled up. Ooh. And Burner was in the back losing his shit because it's like, they got him sitting in the middle and there's 5 of us in the car. Everybody's got their own joint. Wiz got 3 joints. Oh, so it gets really fucking smoky in there. And, Burner was like, I gotta get out of here. And, he asked me, like, how do you do it? Like, how the fuck do you do that? Because you rarely break a sweat. You don't cough, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's the trick? And it's like you said, I stay very still. I maintain breathing. I don't take like huge ass crazy hits that I can't handle because the cough, man, once that cough happens, it's done because your body's going to heat up. It's already hot in there. from the lack of oxygen from all the smoke. So you got to just stay calm and relaxed and try not to cough and be as still as possible instead of like fidgeting around. And like, when they start doing that, done.
What's the one the worst one that you said you maybe had to call off or
there was two. There was two
where you were like, man,
there was three
be all right?
Three really hard ones that like on the cough end, but two of them I had to scrap. And one of them we just let go because it was what it was. We didn't know any better. We're just, okay, fuck it. We're just going to let it be. We're smoking. Fuck it. That's a part of smoking, right? So one was Steph Tone from the Deftones, Stephen Carpenter of the Deftones. He was in the box some years back. And, back then he was smoking cigarettes too. So like he was like, his cough was crazy. But we kept that one. That one we kept going. We were like, fuck it. It is what it is. But yeah, he coughed a lot, but he could smoke, in spite of the cough and all that, and the exaggeration in the cough, the dude could smoke. He's like a fucking, he's a titan when it comes to smoking weed and concentrates and all that shit. The other two were Send Dog. Yeah, he was doing Power Flow. We were doing with his band Power Flow. And he took a beer in the box. Usually I give people waters. He takes a beer. Because I rarely saw San Ever in these 30 years drink a water. It was always a beer. Now he drinks water instead of the beer. But up to that point, so he goes in the box and he takes one of his big old Jeff Spicoli hits, big, huge hit. And he started with the cough. And once the cough came, he could never get off it. Like, so when I was asking questions, he was doing it. Well, we started. That was the whole, like, throughout. And I was like, wait a minute. We got to stop this right here.
We got to scrap this one.
It's funny because he's probably watching people and he already sees it starting before it even happens.
Like,
he's like,
make it.
Look at them moving around all over, taking big hit. You're like, oh, here we go.
It's my homie Send Dog. So, like, I can't allow him to look like that. So, because he's a big smoker too. It's just like he did it too big. And he takes that big ass hit and he thinks he could like wash it down with some beer and it made it worse. Because it's the scratch that happens, right? From when you cough and inhaling the existing smoke, the scratch happens on the back of your throat to compound the cough and you're done. Unless you got like warm tea, warm water, that shit just ain't gonna go away. So we didn't have any of that available. So we're like, yo, Send, it's a wrap. We're like 5 minutes into the interview. It just started getting smoky. So we called that one a wrap and we had to scrap that one. And, I don't recall if we ever redid it, but we just did one for the Cypress Black Sunday anniversary that's coming out in July. And he caught the little cough in there, but we fucking let it roll on that one. And then,
you guys got in the car together?
Yeah, Muggs.
Oh, dope, man.
Muggs, Send Dog, Bobo, and myself, and we just had our conversation amongst us, and it was a good one. But the other one, who was the other one? It was Exhibit. Exhibit came in, and we were doing one for serial killers, myself, Demrick, and Exhibit. And, Exhibit smokes big too. And he took one of them big ass hits and the little cough happened and that was it. I was like, yo, we can't put this out. And he was like, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And we came back and did it and he did it perfectly. Like the next time he did it, it was all controlled. But see, he likes to smoke. Well, back in that time, he liked to smoke the fucking, the backwoods. I'm like, why are you smoking tree bark, dog? Like, come on, man, get into these papers. He's like, nah, man, I like the tree bark. I mean, I like the backwoods or backwoods, whatever. Oh, man, nah, that ain't it. And that's why you're coughing. It was because of, him taking a big ass hit and the big cough turned to the little cough. But, I was going to blame it on his backwoods all day because, I'm trying to get the homie to smoke something more healthy for him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Them backwoods are no good. Sorry, backwoods.
Yeah.
But
Papers all day.
Papers all day. But yeah, those couple we had to scrap, and there was one other one that we had to scrap because it was early on in us doing the smoke box. It was with my man Buckshot. He didn't smoke that much. Like if I had known like people weren't gonna give a fuck about him smoking, and it was just cool for him to be in the box, period, then I would have like let it run. But at that time, we had the type of viewership that if you weren't smoking in the box, they didn't give a fuck who you were. They're like, man, fuck that motherfucker didn't smoke.
How you gonna be in the smoke box, not even smoke?
What the fuck is he doing in the box? I mean, shit, man. Like we did Tommy Chong at a special event, right? We did him in the mystery van or whatever, mystery machine.
Yeah.
It was an event at one of these dispensaries downtown. I think it was KVC or some shit like this. And they had the mystery van out there. They asked me to come do the smoke box there in this van, and Tommy Chong was going to be there. And me and Tommy, we go back on. That's one of my weed mentors. love Tommy, you know. So yeah, of course I was going to go get that interview with Tommy, and we did the shit. And like, he wasn't trying to smoke a lot. He was just, you know, taking little puffs here and there, but having the conversation, where I was like smoking like a beast. And people in the comments were like, he's not even smoking. Look, he's just sitting there, and like shit like this. And I'm like, I had to intervene into the comment section and say, hey, wait a minute. This is fucking Tommy Chong you're talking about. He's 70 something years old. He's partially the reason we get to do this. So fucking have some respect.
Yeah, this guy gets to smoke how he wants.
Yeah, he gets to smoke how he wants. You fucking leave him be. Right? He don't got to smoke like me to be in there. Like, y'all ask too much.
Yeah, people get on it.
You know, like that. So I was dealing with that. So I didn't want my friend to have to go through that same shit. So I pulled the episode, and hopefully I'll get him again. And now they're, you know, our fan base is a little bit more evolved, where they accept someone coming in there and not smoking if they know off the top they're not going to smoke. If they're coming in there with the joint and they take maybe 2 hits, yeah, they'll kind of go in on them. But like Big Boy, for instance, he came into the box, and everybody knows him from the radio. I mean, Big Boy in the morning, and they know he don't smoke. So they were surprised by him getting into the box in the first place. But, you know, he got into the box and people accepted it because he was willing to sit there and catch a contact high and deal with it. So, you know, back in the day, they wouldn't have stood for that, but these days they will. So hopefully, or maybe I should just air the Buckshot one now, even though it's like,
damn,
even though it's 6 years later. No, probably 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was trying to save him from the shitty comments that he would have got. So
the weed community will turn on you quick. They don't play with that.
If you're in a weed culture situation and you ain't like really living up to what they expect out of it, yeah, no, they're going to give it to you. And then when they see people come into the weed culture that were never advocates for it, never activists for it, yeah, they look at them like, you're just here to make money. And they don't accept it, and they scrutinize it to a different level. And, you know, they got to prove themselves to the cannabis culture at that point. Because there's a lot of people coming in trying to make money off the culture, for sure.
What was it like being on Joe Rogan?
Awesome. Joe and I go a ways back. It's always been a love and mutual respect for one another. We started in the podcast space probably around close to the same time. Yeah, maybe I don't know. We might have been before him. I'm not sure about that. I think we started in 2009. With the 420 show on Stickam before we flipped it to the Dr. Greenthumb show, because there was a lot of 420 shows out there, and we wanted to be unique. So we figured, let's just flip it to the name. And that's where it started. But yeah, like in 2009, it was like the 420 show on Stickam, and then eventually on breal.tv, our home site that we created in case something happened to Stickam that we could keep it going. And they helped us create the platform. That was the cool thing. So
he's been OGing it since OG. I mean, even with Cannabis, right? I talked to people like Kenji, and he's like, Be Real had the OG Kush plant. Or like, you got Wonder Bread, who's like, yeah, Kenji, Be Real. And it's like, the lead singer of the band Cypress, they're like, yeah. You're like,
we were all hanging out together, like Kenji and myself. Kenji was one of our guys on tour with us. You know what I mean? And then he got into growing cannabis, like when he was home. And like the first things we put out were from my garage before we knew any better. Hence Dr. Greenthumb, like part of one of the lines says 20 plants stinking up the whole neighborhood. That was my garage. Like when I lived in, I think it was Studio City, I'd like be within maybe 1,000 feet from my house, and I could fucking smell my house from there because we didn't know any better. We didn't know how to mask the fucking smell of it. I mean, we were green, and it was still new. I mean, this was in
bunch of skunks loose around.
Yeah, I think it was 96, 97, around that time.
Man, Studio City, and these guys got, I mean, skunk growing in that garage.
Yeah, like we were blowing it up, and for what we thought blowing it up was at the time.
Then.
And so the Dr. Greenthumb song comes out of us doing that, and that sort of created the whole damn culture of it for us. That song eventually leads me to now throwing Greenthumb events at the House of Blues when it was there on Sunset. Then eventually it takes me into throw in the Dr. Greenthumb Spring Gathering with my man Chang Weisberg, who eventually did Rock the Bells, and I did the Smoke Out with him. And, it sort of leads to the culture of what we built with Dr. Greenthumb moving forward, from it being a podcast to the show to the stores and all that stuff. And none of us would have called the future on that song like that. They wanted to make me change that song. Sony wanted me to change that to something that was more marketable, like Insane in the Brain, because they knew the song was dope in terms of like the beat and maybe the rhyme on it, but like the chorus, they wanted me to change to something different. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to change it. We already have Insane. This is Dr. Greenthumb. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna ride on this. I'm not gonna change it. And thank God I didn't change it, because I mean it led to everything that we're doing now. Aside from what we do with Cypress, it gave me another branch.
Yeah,
from our original tree.
Oh, so unique.
What's been your because we go way back, even on the funky field tips.
Yeah.
Well, what's been your like favorite part of the Cannabis venture? Like project wise,
the funky field tips is
that was early.
Was a cool thing because we put something new in the game, even though some haters tried to act like there was glass tips previously, but there was not, because we would have saw them. Someone would have had them. Yeah, they're smoking stones and things like that, but glass pieces for joints and blunts, that it didn't exist. And, we definitely brought that in the game. And the fact was, I was doing a collaboration with Roar for Cypress Hill and creating a couple of glass pieces, a really expensive, nice one that was collector to the more affordable piece that anyone could get. And in doing these pieces with them, came two things: the Excalibur 2 piece, which they built for us, which was a 6'4" piece that could extend to many more feet, to like 8, 9, 10 if you wanted to, if you had all the pieces to get it up there, which they did because they built it. The second thing was, I had the idea for the funky field tips. I got it while I was in Amsterdam. We were rolling joints, and as much as I like the tip theory, I didn't like the paper tips, because you could only smoke the joint up to here before you start tasting the paper from the heat. So I thought to myself, why has no one created glass tips? And then I thought, I'm going to make a prototype when I get home. and I'm going to show it to Roar and see if they'll put it out with me. And sure enough, they did. At first, they didn't think it was going to roll, but like the owner said, he took like maybe 10 of them or something like that, and he gave them to 10 of his friends. 9 of them were like, I love these. Only one of them was like, oh, I like the papers better. So based on that, he was like, let's do your idea. And that's how they got out there, through Roar first. Then eventually we take them over and start doing it ourselves. So,
yeah, you know, they started popping. We were getting them in the smoke shops and shit. I was definitely the first glass tips we had access to.
Yeah. And now there's in the tin.
Yeah, exactly.
It would open up and
case.
Now there's a bunch of knockoffs, and a lot of people use a bunch of different glass tips, which is cool. But, you know, I could say that I brought that to the game. I sell my own tips, but there's other tips out there, and you're welcome, motherfuckers. You're welcome.
You still put out collabs with Soul Assassins, huh?
Yeah.
I have the Nag Champa collab.
Yeah,
you guys did Nag Champa times Soul Assassins. I was like, this is the sickest thing ever.
Muggs is you know, he's a brilliant dude, man. Like he makes some really good collabs happen for the Soul Assassin brand. So salute to DJ Muggs, my big bro. You know, we're going to be working on some crazy shit for Cypress Hill pretty soon. Something different, new experience, not just music, but like something different.
What do you have coming up? Like, what are you working on right now? I know you said you just were on tour, Germany.
I have a couple different albums coming out. One with Psycho Les of the Beat Nuts. Him and I, you know, collabed up for an album. It's fucking pretty crazy. It's called Real Psycho. Be Real, Psycho Les, Real Psycho. And he did his thing on the beats. It's just crazy. We're about to start putting out song by song pretty soon. We're gonna put a video out with it and all that stuff. So we're just gearing up for that release. And then following that, I got another project with my man Burner, where it's an album that Scott Storch produced for us completely. And so we're waiting to put the finishing touches on that, and going to release that sometime next year. And so for that, those are the 2 big projects I got coming. But in terms of Cypress, I don't know about when we might make another album. Right now, I think we're concentrated more on making songs and then bringing an experience to these songs, rather than just like doing the standard, like, let's make another album and let's make another album. We want to give people something different, because we've been doing this over 30 years now. And like, that's great. You know, shit has to evolve. So we're trying to evolve in the way that we present our art to people. So we're going to come with some different ideas and see what it do.
Do you still enjoy getting weed? You have to have gotten probably 1,000, maybe more pounds at this point.
Definitely still get excited because, I mean, someone's always got some new fire shit that you might not have seen. And then some people got like some shit you've definitely seen, but it's better than, you know, what you've seen in that particular strain and things like that. Like, for instance, you know, for me, I was always a hater of the Blue Dream. Right? Everybody's the Blue Dream, this Blue Dream. I'm like, fuck Blue Dream, man. Because every Blue Dream I ever had was like, okay. It was never that shit that everybody was always bragging about.
Shit outdoor.
Yeah. And till finally someone came to my studio with some actual Blue Dream that was grown properly. And it changed my mind about it. I was like, you know what? This shit is actually good. I'm not going to go on the hunt for it. But I will say, you know what? It's actually good. When they do it proper, it's fucking a really good strain. And I could see why people made a big deal out of it. But for a long time, I was, man, fuck Blue Dream, man. Every fucking dream I had was a sour dream. Shit. It didn't taste good at all. Like, because for me, it's about flavor. You know, like a lot of this shit gets you high. But for me, I'm looking for that flavor. And when it doesn't have the flavor, man, I just ain't about it at all. And like with anything, like with OG for a long time, when OG became the thing out here in Southern California, everybody claimed to have it, but not everybody had it. They just needed to sell their shitty little weed, so they tapped OG on it, and then you tasted it, and you're like, this isn't OG, this is no G. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't no
Fuck
G
out
in
of here.
this shit.
They're like, it's super earthy. You're like, yeah, it is. It's super earthy.
Yeah. It's just super boofy.
Hold the
Shit out
gas.
Yeah. So, you know, that like, yeah, that was the get down. You had to like go through some folks that didn't necessarily have that good shit, but they, you know, they would use the name because they knew it, people would be like, oh, that's that. And then be disappointed because, oh man, I thought that would be better. And then you had guys that didn't really have experience. But, oh, I tried that OG Kush. That shit wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
And that happens with weed. When you got a good marketable name, other people will use it because they need something to sell their shit. And they'll use that nice name to get it off. Now it's harder to do that. But back in that time, shit, you could snipe a name, use it, and, you know, sell your fucking whatever boof you got right there. And you ain't never going to get that those customers again. But you got it off because you lied to people and told people it was this when it wasn't.
And what ain't is I've smoked that Hindu and some of the flavors you brought. I mean, that is so unique. I've been through thousands of strains like that. That is such a unique strain. Like if I land in LA, I'm headed to Dr. Greenthumb's to pick up these flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different. You know, the Hindu funk, a lot of people came at us, you know, I mean, look, as the guys putting it out, we always think it's like records. It's like I said with records, we'll put something out. We think this is the one they're going to fucking react to. And it happens to be this other shit over here. You know what I mean? Like, so for instance, we thought like people would react to the Mamba Juice, and they do. But what they react to even more is the Hindu funk. And we didn't call that, but to us in our flavor palette, it's the Mamba Juice. You know what I mean? And everybody just has a different, it's subjectable, you know? Ooh. My favorite might not be your favorite. And so like when we're putting out strains, you know, you have to keep that in mind. Like if you're putting out 10 strains and you're like choosing to put out these 10 strains and you think they're all going to hit, but this one over here is going to be the one and that one goes the least. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're fucking talking about. It just means that your palate is different than theirs. And maybe you've been doing this so long that you're on a connoisseur level that's past that. And you got to like put your ego aside and say, all right, these are the ones we got to push because this one ain't going. Even though I think this should be it, it's just not the time for it yet. They want this shit over here.
That's a great way to put it. It's not the time for it.
Yeah, you know, because cannabis could go away and come back. Mm-hmm. And people that have had it before, they'll act surprised, like, oh, I never had this shit before. Wow. Because they forget.
Mm-hmm. What's been your go-to lately?
There's this new strain that Kenji's been fucking with that we're planning on putting out. Right now, it's called Ripped Off Fronts, ROR9 and ROR10. And those two that he's and this other strain called Lithium. Crazy. Like the bag appeal, and when you crack the bag or the jar, the nose on it is overwhelming. Like it's like, oh, I gotta smoke this shit immediately. So, you know, yeah, they've been doing their thing down there. You know, Kenji and the squad been doing an excellent job on some of the strains that we're about to put out now, you know, pretty soon. And the French toast gets a lot of run. The stuff French toast people.
That's a unique one.
Yeah.
All of them. Their whole lineup's unique. Like you go through each flavor and they're so different from the next one. Yeah. Like that's what's so dope about you guys' lineup. Plus it's a bunch of OGs putting their heads together, being able to be like, yeah, this is the one. No, what do you think of this one? Like whenever you get that circle,
oh yeah,
we
like do the taste test for sure. Like there's no way we don't. Like we have to fucking make, okay, what represents us the best here, right? Mm-hmm. There was a strain that we were doing, and I don't know when it's coming back, but it's the Mac 11, and that was my favorite. That had like a similar appeal as that what he's growing with the ROR right now, but. Yeah, that was one of my favorites when we were putting that out. It's Kenji's version of the Mac 1. Mm-hmm. And it is fire, man. Like he produces that strain like like nobody. So
yeah, he's a talented guy, man. Yeah. Another dedicated guy. Spent his whole life focused on cannabis.
Oh yeah. He's put everything into it, man, and he knows so much about it. Because he does the diligence and the passion that he has for it. I mean, you know, and he's one of those guys. He puts the work in, man. You know, he's like a perfectionist, a scientist, if you will, with the shit, man. You know, he's in a constant effort to dial it in even more each time. And that's what everybody chases. Mm-hmm. You're constantly trying to dial it the fuck in. And it's hard because sometimes as much as you do, shit happens in any cultivation where one little thing goes wrong and it's a domino effect and it affects either the quality or whatever, you know, and those guys take it to heart when that fucking happens because they pride themselves on being on the one every time. But running a big cultivation, man, that's fucking tough. Even if you got a professional team, you know, like you got some of the best motherfuckers that you could get to be running this facility, problems are going to happen. The building is the building, shit happens. And you know, so salute to the guys that do this shit and that can get past those things and to keep producing, you know, the top shelf premium cannabis that is out there. And he's definitely one of them because he's been through his ups and downs, gone through the hurdles and jumped through the hoops and, you know, put out the fires and everything, man. Anything you could think of, my man's been through. So like he's fucking certified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is, man. Stand up, dude.
Yeah. And big shout out to Kenji and big shout out to Cali Blaze for helping us get B on this episode.
Certified motherfucker. Yeah.
And LA is a tough place to do what we love doing.
Yeah.
So it's to make it out here, it's tough. There's a lot of other factors.
A lot of factors.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the taxes. You know, our governor and our state, instead of helping us out, they punish us for the money we make the state. That nice little sparkly bridge, cannabis.
Yeah.
Everything that they're spending money on right now in California, cannabis. There ain't no other industry that produced the revenue stream to be able to have this sort of surplus that we now have. I mean, California was in debt for a very long fucking time until they activated legalization. Well, before legalization, they started building up this surplus because, you know, when 215 got put in place, that was the start of it because they were collecting money. Wasn't like they were like, oh no, we're not going to collect your money. No, fuck you. You collected the money. And then when it became legal, you definitely collected the money times fucking 2.
Yeah. All cash in envelopes.
Yes. So like a lot of the stuff that's happening within the state in terms of spending, that's cannabis money. And they may not want to give it the due that it deserves, but it's fucking real. And he's using that money. Be it on good shit or bullshit, he's using it. And like, you know, that's because we pay so much tax on it from operator to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, God willing, that's going to come down, you know, but it's going to take the people to do that. Don't let the lobbyists that are for some of these corporations that are going to come in and try to take it over, like, you know, the pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that, where they're going to get their lobbyists to come in and get those taxes down. But guess what? You're still going to get taxed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. You may not get taxed in the way you're getting taxed now, but they're going to fuck you in some sort of way where it's going to be like almost impossible for you to operate and to have to sell your licenses or sell your brand to these motherfuckers or put your cannabis line under whatever they're going to do, because they're just going to overwhelm you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if people in the cannabis industry now don't act now and figure that part out and make the lobby group for the industry do this now as opposed to waiting on these fuckers to do it. Because again, a lot of us are going to get shut out when that happens.
Yeah. It needs
the taxes will go down, consumers will be great, but existing operators are going to get flushed out.
It's like almost like a cleaning of the carpet. They're like, all right, we'll lay it out and then pave the way.
Because they know where the real money is going to come in and actually make it an industry. right now what we're doing is significant, but it's peanuts in comparison to what it could be. Right. And they're looking at that, and they're looking at controlling the industry. And, you know, hey, better get your shit right. And people need to like activate and start lobbying or get a lobby group together, put the funds together. Like, everybody's always so separated. If you get together and put this lobby group together to bring these taxes down, everything starts to make more sense for you. Your bottom line is going to be different, and it ain't going to be so hard on you. Right now, it's hard on you because these fucking taxes. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive to operate in California, period, let alone these taxes. So it's like we need some sort of reprieve, and the only way we're going to do that, you can't depend on this governor because he's loving the money, but he ain't going to do shit to bring those taxes down. He doesn't have to. There's no reason for him to do it other than we're complaining about it. So it's up to the people if they want to make that change, because realistically, they ain't going to do it for us.
Yeah. I feel like it's the same with cleaning up LA. We talk a lot, but it's like, man, not, you know, we want some help, like to clean up parts of LA that are just in crazy.
It's getting out of hand.
Yeah. I mean, they should be using some of that cannabis money to do that.
Yeah.
But that's where their surplus comes from. The reason that California can spend money is because of cannabis. There wasn't no industry out of nowhere that, you know, that injected like millions, if not billions of dollars into the California budget. Mm-hmm. Like, we were in debt.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, it's got to be billions by now.
Yeah, it's so like, you know, where's that money ain't coming from the entertainment industry. A lot of the entertainment industry left to like shoot outside of the state because it's cheaper.
Yeah, even Mark Wahlberg moved to Nevada. All these people are building stuff. Yeah, I saw him. Dude. They're building studios here. He's 100% on. It's interesting.
What do you feel about the state of the cannabis market right now?
Needs work. Mm-hmm. They need to work it out, and you know, in California, we need to bring the taxes down. But like, you know, I think people need to fight for legalization across the board federally so that a lot of us could now use the banking system, which we're not allowed to use. And so that we can actually make this an industry and not have all these different rules in different states that make it complicated for a brand to exist in all these different places. Like, for instance, here we could have our logo on a bag. In Florida, you can't. You know, Michigan's different. You could have your logo on the bag. And in another state, you might not be able. So now you got to make all this different packaging and have your brand sort of have these different looks because all these states have different legislation on it. If you had it federally legal, it'd be like, for instance, you're putting out Coke, right? Coke is the same Coke in every state, the same fucking can, right? Pepsi, same thing. So cannabis should be the same fucking way, but it ain't going to happen until it's federally legal. And, you know, some folks don't want it because they still want to do their, you know, the trap action. But the folks that do want to do it, and most especially the people that have invested in making a brand, yeah, they want it because they don't want to have to take their logo off the bag or whatever and just it be a generic bag. Mm-hmm. I mean, in some cases that's cool, but in other cases, like, you know, in California, people want to see, you know, a poppin' bag like that. Usually means it's premium in there. Now, some people be cheating and put it's a boof in a nice bag, but you know, hopefully we get some regulation.
Out of towners,
some. He said some.
Too many.
Too many. I love being able to sit here with B and chop it up and like listen to this history and like a tastemaker, a wave maker supreme in this whole cannabis industry. You know, all of us have a debt to pay to guys like you, man, who made it something that we could talk about more openly and acceptable, you know, and then actually carrying the flame, like it's a whole other level.
Well, thank you, man. You know, I definitely, we didn't do it by ourselves. There was guys that came along before us in the jazz world, like Cab Calloway, Louis Armstrong, and all those guys. And in the reggae genre, like several artists. I mean, you know, everybody always points to Bob Marley, but that's been a thing in their culture for such a long time. But yes, Bob Marley championed it like no other. And, you know, we came along in hip hop and took what they were doing and, like, you know, fortunately broke into the mainstream with it. So, you know, it was built off of their backs before ours, and we just were able to, like, key in and have impact and put the work in. We believed in it, and we knew that we were sacrificing some things, you know, because we didn't get looks other groups got, even though we were more successful. But that, you know, that came with the territory, and we had to live with that. And, you know, for we've been good. So, you know, I'm grateful that people accepted us, you know, with the aggressive messaging that we had, and for the advocacy of cannabis. You know, like it was two things that, you know, were stacked against us, but, you know, they worked in our favor.
People were still getting arrested. You were bringing a 6 foot bong on stage, and letting people smoke out of it. Like,
and they had to have known by then, right? Like, after so many tour stops.
Oh,
they kind of know. They're like, they knew what was coming.
Oh yeah.
They're like, these guys, we got to watch.
And it's just crazy. You kept the flame lit for over 30 years.
And we're going to still keep it lit.
Insane.
Still work to
to
do.
the end.
Yeah.
Got to it. This
putting out brand new strains.
Can't stop now.
That's right. We can't stop.
Can't stop now.
Man, if you haven't seen the Smoke Box, if anybody's, I know you have, but if you haven't seen it, one of my favorite shows, and you can just go one. I just watched the Ray Sremmerd one. That was a funny ass episode too. It's always good to watch.
They were good. You know, like we had Jimmy in there before, but we hadn't had both of them. So, you know, it was good to have both of them, and it was funny as hell. So
he actually was like trying to crawl out.
He actually did better the first time. Jimmy did better the first time than he did the second time, but
shit'll catch up to you.
Yeah, it was hilarious though. It was a good box.
Yeah.
Shit, check it. If you haven't already, obviously check out Be Real, man. Any store in, you know, the whole state of California, Dr. Greenthumb, the insane brand, nothing but fire. Everything you guys got going on, man. It's inspiring, and we appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, and I appreciate, you know, the words. And man, we got to get you guys on the Dr. Greenthumb show.
I'm excited. It's been a dream come true. Episode 100 with Be Real, people. Listen to that.
You already know, man. Be Real, episode 100. It's first smoke of the day. We're out.
Word up.